Hi everyone, it is Kate, the Almost Book Doctor, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a spooky TBR. I know that there's like a TBR and an MBR. I just can never remember to use their acronym, but my TBRs are kind of like just the group of books I'm going to pick from. It's not a strict, I'm going to do this because I can't read that many books in 1 month. As you can see, I am in my Ravenclaw robes, trying to fit with the theme here. I was trying to think what orange things I own, but then I realized what better excuse is there to wear my Hogwarts robes if not for Halloween? So I'm gonna just go through all of the books that I'm interested in reading this month, and we'll see how many I get through. Some of them might roll over into November just because they're not strictly Halloween, they just give me kind of those vibes. So I'm going to start with 2 books that I've actually already read, and I quite enjoyed them. I'm going to be doing, reviews as we go on. The first one is The House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland, and I really liked this. It was very eerie. There wasn't like jump scares or anything like that, but it is technically horror. It's YA horror, and it was the first like full horror book that I've read. Because it's YA, it wasn't that scary, but I actually really liked it. So we'll see if I go forward with the genre. Next one is Belladonna by Adalyn Grace, and I love this book. I'm going to do a full review on this, but this has the like spooky vibes to it as well, but it's more of a fantasy romance. I really love this book, and you should read it. Plus, the first run of these books had a naked hardback that just is breathtaking. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. So, yeah, I loved Belladonna. I'm really glad that I decided to kind of start off spooky season with these 2 because I feel like it set the tone without it being too scary, I have 3 more YA books. Small Favors. This is also YA horror fantasy, and it feels like it's going to be a little bit like The Village by M. Night Shyamalan, mixed with some fantasy stuff, which will be really fun. And it's about a small village that lives kind of in the middle of nowhere, and it seems kind of like a commune almost, like everybody pitches in and does everything, and there's like a list of rules for the community and stuff. But one day, some of their people don't return, and they end up being killed. And then these creatures kind of come out of the forest, and they ask for these small favors. And yeah, I'm interested to see what this actually is about, because I feel like that's a really kind of loose description of a storyline. So yeah, I know Elliot Brooks really liked this, and she said that there were some really good, like, eerie, creepy feelings in this book. Okay, the next one that I have is Violet Made of Thorns, and this book intrigues me. I don't know too much about the story, but I do know that our main character is Prophet, and she gives kind of twisted false prophecies to the king of her kingdom to get what she wants out of the deal. She does it to manipulate the court, which I find to be a really fun idea, and she unleashes some sort of curse. That's all I know. I don't want to know anymore, but it just sounds like it's going to be fun. Maybe a villain origin story. I've heard that, but I don't really know how that's going to fit in here, so we'll see. Next is a YA fantasy romance, heavy on the romance. I don't know why we picked to read this book, but I'm reading it with my friend Ben, and that is Serpent and Dove. I think it's because it's the witch and the witch hunter, like enemies to lovers, forced proximity, wedding of convenience sort of thing. So this has so much hype. I don't know if I'm going to enjoy it. I'm kind of afraid I'm going to hate it, but we'll see. I've been reading more YA lately, so I'm interested to see how this one compares to the other YA I've been reading. I've actually really liked what I've been reading lately that's YA, so yeah. Does the hype stand up? To follow in like the love romance vein, I have The Lantern's Ember, which I don't think anybody else knows about. And this is very, very, very Halloween. Like, this book was written for Halloween. And our main character is Jack, and he is a watchman who stands at the entrance to this place called the Otherworld, where there are all sorts of like beasts and evil things. And he keeps people out, basically. And you find out that they're called lanterns. And let me read you the first sentence. This is just, it's so Halloween, and I love it. Jack sat on top of the covered bridge in his favorite spot, his arm draped over his carved pumpkin. The gourd wasn't his first choice to house the ember of his immortality, but then again, he'd never really been given a choice. So his name is Jack. His profession is being a lantern, and he put his soul inside of a pumpkin. Could you get more Halloween? I don't know how you possibly could get more Halloween. There's a love story in here. I don't really know a ton. I've read the back, but I know that there's a girl who slips past him, and I'm assuming that she's a love interest. So I'm excited to read this. I don't think I've read a book that I've never heard anyone talk about on BookTube in like the last 2 years. The next book is The Undertaking of Heart and Mercy. I am so excited to read this book. So excited. True love might be the death of them. Undertaker, monster hunter type thing. And then there's apparently this like You've Got Mail like letters thing. I love You've Got Mail. It's my favorite movie. And so I think that aspect is going to make me really, really love this book. I'm so excited. Next up is going to be Practical Magic. If you can't see, I have already started this and I love it so far. It's really different from the movie, and the movie is one of my favorite movies, so I'm really excited to see how much it differs. I've heard that it's a lot different and that it's a lot darker, and within the first like 30 pages, I can already tell it's a lot darker. It's weird to read a book when you've already watched the other form of media that it's been turned into. Like, I'm imagining Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock in these main characters as Jillian and Sally, and like, a weird thing is Jillian's hair in the book is blonde, but in the movie, she's a bright redhead. And so I keep imagining Nicole Kidman with her bright red hair, even though that's not what the character looks like in reality. So I'm interested to see how much I like the book compared to the movie. All I know is that I really love the movie, and most of the time, the book is way better than the media it's turned into, so I am very excited to read this. I think it's going to be one of my favorites. Next up on my list is Her Majesty's Royal Coven. This is another book that I'm reading with my friend Ben. We're having like this spooky season giant buddy read thing going on. And this one sounds very intriguing to me. It is about a group of 4 best friends that are witches, and they join Her Majesty's Royal Coven, which is like a covert operation, and they work in that, and then there's a time jump decades later to where, you know, they've all kind of split apart from each other, as friends do sometimes, and only one of them is still involved with Her Majesty's Royal Coven, and she actually becomes like the leader, I think, and the other ones are kind of doing their own thing, might not have anything to do with magic, but she needs them to come back and work with her because there's all of a sudden some powerful being out there that they have to stop. I think this book is going to explore friendships in a cool way, and also like growth and maturity. So I'm excited to read a book that's spooky, but also has a lot of good themes in it, because I feel like this is going to be a good one. One more adult, spooky, witchy book is going to be The Once and Future Witches. And this one sounds so good. I feel like I've picked some really good spooky season books, guys, because I'm excited for like all of them. And this has to do with like the suffragette movement and witches, and not just for a woman's right to vote, but for the right for witches to vote. And it just, it sounds so good. And the tagline is, "There's no such thing as witches, but there will be." It just sounds so good. The first paragraph of the thing on the back says, "In 1893, there's no such thing as witches. There used to be in the wild, dark days before the burnings began, but now witching is nothing but tiny charms and nursery rhymes. If the modern woman wants any measure of power, she must find it at the ballot box." Oh, this one sounds so good. So yes, Once and Future Witches. Also, I got the UK version because it was cheaper because I ordered something from Blackwell's. And I'm so sad because it doesn't have the deckled edges, and you know how much I love deckled edges. Anyway, it just made me sad. I have 3 left, and these are either like magical realism or just straight up kind of gothic. The first one is going to be Babel by R.F. Kuang. This is dark academia. What else do I have to say? There's really nothing else to say. This book has amazing rave reviews, and ooh, it just seems like it's going to be sort of a perfect book for me, with the dark academia and the use of writing and words and translation, and it just sounds like something that's gonna be at the top of my list. So yes, Babel. This is one of the ones that might have to carry over into November, but that's fine. I feel like the ambiance, the feels, the aesthetic of Babel could be in October, November, or even like in winter time. I don't know. I just get that like feeling. Ugh. The next book is going to be The Secret History by Donna Tartt. Certain friends of mine have been astonished that I haven't read this book yet because it's so good. More dark academia, you know, Greek classic stuff, and a murder mystery. Like, all ready for it. I've actually started it. I'm about 25 pages in, just because I wanted to kind of get a feel for the book and decide whether or not I could slot it in this month because it is long. But I already really like it. Next up is going to be The Death of Jane Lawrence. It's like a dark gothic horror that's reminiscent of Crimson Peak, which I haven't read Crimson Peak, but I did see the movie with Tom Hiddleston. I don't know if that's like a good reflection of the story or not, but I do know like the vibes it's supposed to have. So I'm really interested in reading this because I feel like it's going to scratch that itch of like Victorian Gothic type of thing that I really like and enjoy, but with also giving me that like creepy horror, like suspense part of it. When I first heard the description of this, I was like, I have to read this. So I'm happy that I could find it. Also, this never happens, but the author spells her first name the same way that I do, which never happens because no one spells their name the way I do because there's 10 million ways to spell Caitlin. So yes. And I know I go by Kate on here, but my full name is Caitlin. The last one that I have is also Gothic, and that's going to be Mexican Gothic, and I've heard so many good things about this book. I want to read this. I have had this for a little while now and just never had a good time, and what's a better time to read a Gothic novel than around Halloween? Dark Gothic suspense horror mixed in with like the 1950s Mexico. I find that so interesting. I'm excited to read a story that's set in another place. I'm starting to get tired of reading books that are low fantasy or contemporary that take place in America or England. And so I'm trying to branch out, and this is a good starting point, I think, for me. Well, that is the last book. And so I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. I had 13 books on this TBR, which actually makes perfect sense because 13 is the spookiest number. It's also my lucky number. And so let me know what you guys are going to be reading for spooky season. I would love to know and compare notes because I'm always looking for new reads, especially spooky ones, because I've just been in a mood lately. And even if I don't get to them now, they'll go on next year's TBR. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and I would be ever so grateful. And I hope you guys have a wonderful spooky season and happy Halloween. Troll in the dungeon! How do you want to know? Yeah, I make a pretty good quarrel, don't I?